In his book, the author Jack Weatherford asks a question that echoes through time. He wonders how one man could rise from nothing to command the largest land empire the world has ever seen. The answer, it seems, is not just about strength or swords. It's about something far more delicate, something we all understand. It's about trust. But what happens when that trust shatters? What happens when the people you believe in the most are the ones who turn their backs on you? This is a story about a great leader, but it is also a story about friendship, loyalty, and the painful sting of betrayal that can change the course of a person's life and, in this case, the course of history itself. Imagine building the most amazing sandcastle on the beach. You work with your best friends, gathering the best shells and the wettest sand. Now imagine one of those friends, someone you shared your secrets with, suddenly kicking it down. That feeling of shock and hurt is something Genghis Khan knew all too well. Before he was the mighty ruler we read about in books, he was a boy who had to learn, often the hard way, who he could truly count on. He was born into a world of constant struggle on the vast, windswept plains of Mongolia. Life here was not easy. Different tribes were always fighting with each other over land, animals, and power. Imagine living in a neighborhood where all the families were rivals, constantly arguing and sometimes even fighting. That was Temujin's world. One of the most painful stories from Genghis Khan's life is the story of his friendship with a boy named Jamukha. When they were young, Temujin and Jamukha were the best of friends. They were so close that they performed a sacred ceremony to become Anda, or blood brothers. This was like making the ultimate promise, swearing to be loyal to each other forever, closer than even real brothers. They hunted together, played together, and swore they would always have each other's backs. Imagine having a friend you trust with all your heart, someone you believe will stand by you no matter what. That is what Jamukha was to Temujin. This separation grew into a bitter rivalry. Jamukha, fueled by jealousy of Temujin's rising popularity, became his greatest enemy. The final betrayal was devastating. Jamukha eventually gathered an army and attacked Temujin. He even boiled some of Temujin's captured generals alive in cauldrons. The boy who had sworn eternal loyalty was now his most ruthless foe. As Genghis Khan's power grew, he surrounded himself with people he trusted. One of the most important was a shaman named Kokochu, who was also known as Teb Tengeri, or the Most Heavenly. A shaman was like a spiritual guide, someone believed to have a direct connection to the spirit world. Kokochu was the son of a man who had been like a second father to Temujin, helping his family when they were abandoned. For this reason, Genghis Khan gave Kokochu and his family a great deal of honor and influence in his new nation. But Kokochu began to enjoy his power a little too much. He started to believe that his spiritual authority made him equal or perhaps even superior to Genghis Khan. It's kind of like being the co-captain of a team, but then deciding you should be the only one making all the decisions. Kokochu began to use his influence to build his own following, challenging the Khan's authority in subtle ways. He arranged a wrestling match between Kokochu and his strongest brother, Temuj. During the match, Kokochu's back was broken. This act sent a clear message to everyone. There was only one ruler of the Mongol Empire. It was a brutal but necessary lesson on the dangers of unchecked ambition and a reminder that loyalty, especially to the Khan, was absolute. Long before he was Genghis Khan, Temujin had two friends who were among his earliest and most important followers. Their names were Boorchu and Mukhali. They were not blood brothers like Jamukha, but they were the bedrock of his rise to power. Boorchu was his very first follower, joining him when Temujin was just a lonely young man with nothing to his name. But even the strongest foundations can develop cracks under the immense pressure of power and distance. Tasked with governing a region, Ongur grew arrogant. He began to act like a king himself, enriching himself and his family and forgetting that his power came from the Khan. It was a betrayal of the principles they had fought to establish. When Genghis Khan learned of this, he was deeply disappointed. These stories of betrayal are more than just dramatic footnotes in the life of a famous conqueror. They are essential to understanding why Genghis Khan built his empire the way he did. Think of it like this. If your sandcastle gets knocked down by a supposed friend, the next one you build might have much thicker walls and a deep moat around it. The Betrayals by Jamuka, Kokochu and others taught Genghis Khan to be extremely careful. So he decided to create a new kind of loyalty, one based on laws, a strict code of conduct, and absolute devotion to the empire and its leader, him. After dealing with Kokochu, Genghis Khan declared a policy of religious tolerance across his empire. Ultimately, these betrayals shaped the very soul of the Mongol Empire. They led Genghis Khan to create the Yasa, his secret code of laws. He turned the pain of personal betrayal into the principles that built and held together the largest contiguous empire in history. When we look back at the life of Genghis Khan, it is easy to see only the powerful conqueror, the man who commanded vast armies and changed the map of the world. But beneath the armor and the title was a man who, like all of us, had to navigate the complicated world of friendship and trust. These tales from nearly a millennium ago still resonate today because they speak to a fundamental human experience. So, as we leave this story, let us ponder a question: what truly makes a friend, and what does it take to keep one?